This man is a professional killer. One day, he receives a contract to assassinate the Prime Minister of France. To complete this mission, he begins his training. First, he ties his sniper rifle to a tree branch using a rope and aims at a watermelon, hanging from another tree 250 meters away. His shot lands 2 centimeters off target, so using a screwdriver, he fine-tunes his rifle. When he aims again at the face drawn on the watermelon and shoots, the bullet hits dead center. He then loads a special bullet into the rifle and fires again. This time, the watermelon explodes into pieces in a single shot. Now prepared for the dangerous mission, the killer reaches France. Upon arrival, he chooses the roof of a hotel to assassinate the president, as he considers it the safest location. He then buys various items from the market, completely changes his appearance, and waits for the right day to execute the mission. Let's find out if this killer will really be able to assassinate the president of France or not. The story begins in the year 1962 in France, a time when the country was going through an economic depression. There was unrest among the people. During this period, the French president Charles de Gaulle granted independence to Algeria. This decision angered many French citizens, but it most deeply hurt the paramilitary troops, who had lost many comrades during the Algerian War. Feeling betrayed, some of these paramilitary members formed an organization called OAS. Their objective was to assassinate the president and take control of France. Among them was a man named Jean Morin, who was particularly furious. He began planning the president's assassination with his companions. While monitoring the president's residence, Jean discovered the exact time when the president would leave his house. Finally, the day came. The president was heading to the airport with his convoy. On the way, Jean signaled his men, who unleashed a barrage of automatic gunfire. More than 140 shots were fired, but miraculously, no one in the president's car was hit. This incident shook the French government. Every political figure demanded the culprits be caught. It took police and intelligence 6 months to finally capture Jean Morin and his associates. The next morning, the court rejected Jean's plea for mercy, and the police executed him. The scene shifts to 3 key OAS figures: Colonel Marc, Manager Casson, and Treasurer Montclair, hiding in a remote area of Austria. They were deeply troubled as all their planning had failed. They couldn't return to France because they would be arrested immediately upon identification. Colonel Rollet realized they couldn't kill the president themselves, nor could they use any French citizen, as authorities had detailed information on everyone. Rollet decided they needed to hire a foreigner for the job. After 3 months of searching, Rollet found the perfect man, someone with an impeccable record in the world of hitmen, with 0 failures to date. This man was known by the code name, the Jackal. Rollet called him to Vienna. The Jackal was extremely skilled and thorough. He told the 3 men that he had read their files and knew everything. He demanded $500,000 for the job, stating that whoever did this would never be able to take on another mission again. The OAS leaders agreed, and the Jackal told Rollet to keep everything secret. The Jackal began preparing for the job, gathering every little detail about his target. He got 2 fake passports and left for Paris. Upon arriving in Paris, he first learned everything about President Charles de Gaulle. Then he started scouting for a location from where he could shoot the president. Fortunately, he found one where the president was soon scheduled to give a speech. After finalizing the location, the Jackal contacted 2 expert associates in Belgium. First, he visited a weapons manufacturer, gave him specific requirements, and asked for the gun to be ready in 2 weeks. The second person handled all the forged French paperwork. The Jackal was now deep into preparations. Meanwhile, we are introduced to a girl named Denise. She had been sent by the OAS to seduce Minister St. Clair and extract crucial information from him. Her job was to keep the OAS informed about every move the government made. 2 weeks passed quickly, and the Jackal finally received his custom-made gun as per his specifications. This gun was in pieces, meaning, by looking at a single piece, no one could guess that it was actually a gun. After assembling the gun, Jackal test fires it, and he is extremely pleased with the results because the gun turns out to be far better than his expectations. Meanwhile, in the city of Paris, daylight robberies had started happening. In reality, this was being done by paramilitary men to arrange the $500,000 Jackal had demanded, since none of them had that much money. So, the OAS members plan a bank heist and loot a van full of money in a crowded marketplace. But before they could escape, the police arrive and a fierce gunfight breaks out between both sides. Somehow, the remaining OAS members manage to escape, but one of them is caught by the police. This news reaches the French authorities, and the public is furious about the ongoing robberies. The French intelligence starts torturing the captured man to extract information. Under intense torture, he eventually reveals the name of Roland. This increases suspicion among the authorities that Roland and his group are planning something big, which could be a threat to the nation. The French intelligence begins searching for Roland and his associates. Soon, they get a breakthrough and discover the location of Roland's hideout. But reaching that building is extremely difficult, as it's heavily guarded by Roland's men, and neither he nor any of his associates ever leave the building. After some investigation, the authorities find out that a man named Walensky was helping Roland by exchanging messages. One day, while Walensky is about to deliver a message, intelligence agents ambush him from behind, hit him on the head, and take him straight to France. In France, Walensky is severely tortured to reveal information about Roland and his group, but he refuses to say anything for a long time. Eventually, after intensified torture, Walensky reveals that Roland has hired someone to kill the president. However, Walensky doesn't know much. Still, it becomes clear to the intelligence team that a foreign hitman has been brought in to assassinate the president. When asked for the hitman's name, Walensky says he doesn't have one. Everyone just calls him Jackal. Now, the entire department gets to work trying to find the Jackal. Meanwhile, the Interior Minister visits the president, but for security reasons, even ministers are denied access to him, and efforts are made to ensure the president stays at his residence as much as possible. But when President Charles learns of this, he refuses, saying he is not a coward who will hide due to a threat. He insists on continuing his rallies. The Interior Minister calls a meeting involving all ministers, police officers, and the commissioner. In the meeting, the minister emphasizes that Jackal must be caught at all costs because he poses a huge threat. When the minister asks the commissioner about leads in the case, it becomes apparent that nobody knows who Jackal is, making the case even more difficult. The commissioner suggests bringing in someone capable of uncovering Jackal's identity, a retired police officer named Liebel, who is an expert in such investigations. The minister assigns Liebel the case and gives him full authority, assuring him that no one will interfere in his work. Liebel gets to work and recruits some of his old colleagues, as he only trusts them. On the other hand, we see Denise, who now lives with the minister. When the minister returns home in the evening, Denise seduces him and gradually extracts all the important information. She then calls and relays all this information to a man named William, an OAS member, to ensure there are no problems in the next steps. Meanwhile, a police officer named Thomas is also on Jackal's trail. He meets with the minister and starts gathering information about Jackal, showing how the entire country is on high alert because of him. Some speculate that Jackal might be British. So the French police contact British authorities to inquire about a person named Jackal, but they find nothing useful. This leads the department to try decoding the name Jackal, and they eventually conclude that Jackal could be a Frenchman. So Liebel begins investigating every person who has recently arrived in the city. They start checking everyone's passport, and during this they come across a person named Paul. However, the identity that Jackal was currently using belonged to someone who had actually died at the age of 2. So the entire department begins Searching for the man named Paul Jackal, who is still focused on his plan, meets the man in Belgium who was helping him with his paperwork. But now that man has become greedy, so Jackal is forced to kill him. Jackal's secret is now out. Roland has found out and calls Jackal to advise him to abort the mission. But Jackal refuses, saying, "Once I take up a mission, I always complete it." Jackal checks into a hotel and begins seducing a girl named Barony. Because he checked in under the name Paul, the police are immediately alerted. By morning, the police raid the hotel, surrounding it from all sides and searching Jackal's room. But they find nothing. This is because Jackal had spent the entire night with the girl he was seducing and had left early in the morning. The police soon figure this out and begin interrogating Barony, but she doesn't reveal anything. Meanwhile, Jackal is seen trying to escape by car, but unfortunately, he gets into an accident. Knowing that the police will soon arrive, he returns to Barony. They spend time together, talking. Barony tells Jackal that the police had come after he left and asked about him, but she didn't say anything. However, now there's only one person, Barony's maid, who has seen him, so Jackal is again forced to kill her. In the morning, Jackal changes his appearance to match the man whose passport he had stolen at the airport. Then he boards a train to Paris, where he plans to assassinate the president. Meanwhile, when Barony's staff comes to see her at the hotel, they realize she is dead. They quickly inform Liebel, and he is stunned to learn that the maid has also been killed. Liebel orders a full search of the area. During the search, Liebel learns about someone named Dennis and realizes Jackal is now using this name. He alerts all of Paris and orders surveillance on every hotel, lounge, and farmhouse. He spreads the message: if there's any booking or entry under the name Dennis, arrest the person immediately. But Jackal is extremely clever. He befriends someone at a Turkish bathhouse and hides there. On the other side, Liebel is wiretapping the calls of all the ministers attending a meeting. He finds out that a girl named Denise lives at Minister St. Clair's house and is leaking information to the OSS, which is how Jackal is always one step ahead. When St. Clair finds out, he becomes so distraught that he takes a large number of pills and ends his life. Liebel informs his team that the president fought in World War II and will definitely attend the Liberation Day event to give a speech. That's Jackal's perfect opportunity to strike. So, Liebel coordinates with the police and tightens security everywhere, ensuring no one gets near the president. Meanwhile, Jackal kills the man who had been sheltering him so that he leaves behind no witnesses. Finally, Liberation Day arrives. Since Liebel has no trace of Jackal, he orders that the ID of every person attending be checked. No one is allowed in without verification. At this point, we see Jackal disguised as a handicapped war veteran. He approaches a guard under a new name and tells him he's a local, then walks right in. Liebel is watching everything carefully but notices nothing suspicious. Still, he has a strong feeling that something is wrong. He talks to each guard one by one. Then one of the guards tells him that an old limping man just went into a building with an open window. Liebel immediately realizes this must be Jackal and that he's about to shoot the president. Liebel rushes to the room with a police officer. Jackal is already in position, aiming at the president. He fires, but just at that moment, the president bends down to honor a freedom fighter, and the bullet misses, passing above his head. Jackal prepares for a second shot, but Liebel and the officer reach in time. Jackal shoots and kills the police officer. Seizing the moment, Liebel grabs the officer's automatic gun and shoots Jackal dead. The London police close the case quickly, noting that Jackal was not English but French. He is buried anonymously in an unknown grave in Paris. So friends, this is how the movie ends. Let us know how you like the story in the comments, and don't forget to share your suggestions with us.